Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Hanks. I am the artistic director of Rebel Stage. And before we begin, I'd like to read the Rebel mission statement. Our goal at Rebel Stages is to provide communities with professional quality theater at an affordable cost, to nurture, support, and embrace theater artists of all genders, ages, shapes, sizes, orientations, races, and cultures, to cultivate an appreciation of theater in future generations, and rebel against the traditional and often stagnant box in the performing arts industry. Artemis Fowl, being able to bend things that most use a straight line. I am so happy today to have two guests who I love and admire dearly. We have Lawrence Joseph
Hello.
and we have Tamir Cousins Ali.
Hi there.
Hello, hello, hello. All right, how you guys doing?
Pretty good. Very excited to be here and talking about something that I think is super important.
Ditto.
Being here. So we're actually going to start by watching a video that has sort of really shook the Broadway world and the theater world to its core. So let's keep doing that. You guys let me know if you can see it too, because
Okay.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
This has been an extraordinarily difficult week for me. It's been emotional. It's been isolating. It's been anxiety inducing. And I decided to go silent on social media because I didn't know how to contribute to the conversation. And I woke up this morning and thought, okay, I should put down my thoughts and say why I'm so triggered and say why we want people to listen to us. And so this is my experience detailing making a musical that some of you know, Witness Uganda, also known as Invisible Thread, back when we were making it for Off-Broadway in New York City. And this is my thoughts. They're sensitive. I've never shared them. I think this is the moment. We all saw the video of Amy Cooper pulling her white lady privilege card on a black man in Central Park as he asked her to simply follow the rules. She threatened his reputation, his livelihood, and his life. It was a revelation for America, but it was extremely triggering for me because I have been in the room where it happens, and Amy Coopers are alive and well in the American theater. Also, white men can be Amy Coopers too. Here are just a few things that happened to me along the way. Strong arming a black writer after you've already purchased the rights to my work by saying, I will not produce your show if you do not change the title, exit your role as lead actor and exit your role as lead writer is a direct threat, and that is Amy Cooper. A director saying in a casting session that an actress doesn't look black enough to be in Witness Uganda is what black people call the paper bag test, and that is Amy Cooper. Second stage, wanting to honor the work of Matt and I for their annual gala with the promise of a hefty donation to our charity, asking our entire cast to perform for free, and then parading us around their gala to talk about the importance of their risky endeavors. Yet the donation never came. That is Amy Cooper. A white reviewer noted that our 20-something black actors playing high school kids and college graduates looked a little old for the roles. The show that followed ours was Dear Evan Hansen, starring a bunch of white 20-somethings playing high schoolers. Their looks were never on the table because white people get to play make-believe on stage. Black people are scrutinized for our wigs, our costumes, our ages, our skin color, our bodies, our vocals, our muscles, or our curves, and that is Amy Cooper. A white theater reviewer said, and then Big Mama comes out to sing the gospel number. They were referring to Melody Betts' incomparable performance of Bella Musana. Her character's name was Rain Lady. not Big Mama. And that is Amy Cooper. A theater reviewer attempted to destroy my career by saying the only thing that Griffin Matthews cares about is Griffin Matthews, and then proceeded to not only rip apart my show, but also attack me personally, never once asking why an entirely white theater producing staff, director, Broadway producer bought and paid for my material. I became the singular scapegoat inside of a $2 million musical, and that is Amy Cooper. And when that racist review came out, not one person on the producing entity challenged it. Not one person defended the singular Black voice that they had just paraded around at their gala. And that is Amy Cooper. In the middle of a heated creative team meeting, our director stood up and screamed in my face, "I do not work for you," when in fact, she did. She worked for me. The director works for the writer to bring forward the vision, and in that moment, she was Amy Cooper. A song in Act 1 mentioned the fact that I was the son of slaves. Our producer, in the middle of a creative team meeting, said, "Slavery is over. No one wants to hear about that." Not one single person put him in check, and that is Amy Cooper. See, the thing about Amy Cooper is she is a liberal. She is an artistic director. She is a Tony winner. She is a producer. She teaches at Harvard. She is charismatic. She is an excellent public speaker and fundraiser. She puts on pretty dresses and speaks eloquently about how much she cares about diversity and inclusion. She has made her entire career about that. She works with Black people. She believes she loves Black people. She buys their work, and behind closed doors, she steals it. She manipulates it. She has no time or patience to research it. She has no idea of how to defend it because she never understood it. She waits for everyone else to tell her if it's good or if it's relevant or if it's award worthy because she sincerely has no idea what's what. Her Black experience is strictly about money and profits. She has no real Black friends and has never needed to have them because that's not part of the equation of rising to the pinnacle of success on Broadway. Think about that. White people literally need not one Black person to become a Broadway sensation, to become a millionaire, to become a Tony winner, to become Broadway history. Not one Black person is needed to achieve that. And that is why Broadway is racist. It is teeming with racist theater owners, producers, directors, writers, artistic directors, choreographers, agents, managers, actors, stage managers, company managers, casting directors, press teams, and reviewers pretending to be allies. And if the word racist stings you, it should, because racist behavior has been stinging artists of color since the very beginning. Racism has been stealing our dreams, choking our stories, looting our talent, destroying our bank accounts, and then discarding us when we are no longer valued. And here's the deepest revelation from me. I may never make it to Broadway for simply speaking out against the horrific treatment that I received, and all of the Amy Coopers will be fine. Because they won't read this or they won't care that I wrote it, because they do not need Black people to reach the pinnacle of success. And that is why I say, burn it down. The institution isn't working. It never was. Black artists have been keeping a secret from you. We have been performing on stage and off. That's the secret. We're tired. We're tired of keeping it. We are done. I am done. The Great White Way needs a real Black friend immediately. And one more thing. Book of Mormon is racist. There. I said it.
So,
Wow.
That was a pipe bomb.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot. That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Me?
A whole.
Ah! What do we think?
I don't know. I don't even know. Again.
So I think one thing for me that really stuck out was him and this is just my opinion, him not differentiating institutionalized racism and institutionalized prejudice from individual interactions.
Hmm.
and kind of trying to make the blanket statement of this is Amy Cooper and this is like what she does. I feel like they're very different, at least in my head.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's necessarily fair for him to equate the two things on the same level.
Right.
Like for instance, the portion where he was talking about the director or producer like got up and screamed like I don't work for you. Obviously, I think that we can all agree that like theater is supposed to be more collaborative, and the writer shouldn't have more power than the director, than the producer, than the this, that, or the third. And there is some hierarchies of power, but you shouldn't ever, no matter who you are, scream like you work for me.
Right.
And I wasn't in the situation. I don't know the people, but I don't know if you can play the race card in that aspect. But again, I'm not sure about what this actual situation was besides his perspective on it.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I think in that case, having not been there, well, and also more to the point is I think that he doesn't think that if it were a white guy, that wouldn't have happened.
Right.
Yeah.
And even more to the point, there is a hierarchy. But out of consideration, just general consideration, you don't pull rank, because when you pull rank, then you're going in a different direction.
And that's what I mean more so.
Yeah.
Like I think that is just a bad way to go about collaboration in general.
Yeah. Because essentially what you're saying, will stop. Well, if you're in the middle of making a decision whether the number is going to stay in or the number is not, well, and you're the producer, you're saying that, oh, okay, well, guess what? I'm the producer and I want the number out. Choreographer. And that's, and then that's where the collaboration ends. Because it's no longer, listening to what their thoughts are on it. And especially if it's, in the context, if you're not listening to what their thoughts are and then trying to come to some kind of compromise.
Okay.
Do you think that it would have been different if he had more power? Because I don't know if you guys followed up on this, but it's actually Diane Paulus who he's talking about. Do you know who Diane?
I'm not sure. Who is Diane? No, I don't know.
Not producer, director. She directed
oh god, it was the
Pippin, the latest revival of Pippin.
Yeah.
And I guess he's almost saying in a way that if he had a little bit more power himself, or if he had a Black voice to back him up, that he would have been able to counter that, as opposed to saying, oh wait, I'm sorry about this,
Okay.
But one thing that I thought about when I was listening to this, and now I understand why now his name escapes me. The guy from Atlanta who has the studio. No, who has the movie studio in Atlanta? Tyler Perry. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the reason why he did things the way that he did. Because he was creating his own works. And it wasn't, and he was doing things on his own terms, because they were not giving him a seat at the table.
Right.
That's why, a lot of times, in order for us to get our stories made the way that we want them, or to have a seat at the table, we have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we, in certain ways, we're waiting for them to, maybe make it a collaborative thing. And it has happened in some places, but they're the ones that are trying to tell our stories. And that's, no,
Right.
you have someone on the team that, and high on the team that voice
I
and tell you what our stories really are, because that's just like me going in and well, I know the story of Anne Frank, but without consulting with some older Jewish person, I really have a full perspective of what they just think that I'm missing.
okay.
Right.
So, question: how do you? So, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the exact words that I want to say because I don't want to come off wrong. So, a show like, for instance, like Once on This Island, which is a show that I like a lot, but is written by white writers, and the show maybe would not have been made if it wasn't Stephen Flaherty and Lynn Aris who wrote the music and the lyrics for it. And even like when it was on Broadway, when it got brought back on Broadway, it was directed by Michael Arden, who is a gay white man. So is the concession for having our stories told at all to have them be written, produced, everything but acted by artists who are not artists of color?
I think that all goes into the root problem of systemic racism and just not having the exposure to things like theater and to the arts like that. Because I know personally, I felt like I couldn't do what I was doing because I felt that it was a white person's career, And it wasn't until I saw someone like me doing what I'm doing now that I felt, okay, now I can do it too. And I think that's a part of that cycle, and it's a part of just being exposed to it and being,
I agree.
To
yeah.
to
Like it
do.
wasn't until I saw someone like Brian Stokes Mitchell that I'm like, oh, black guys can have more like classically trained voices and still be successful on Broadway. But there's only one Brian Stokes Mitchell. Like I can't name another one like that. And maybe like Joshua Henry, but like it's harder for me to come to that.
Yep.
They're less visible. They're less out there.
Right. But it's just
go ahead, Brandon.
It's just hard for us to even get in the room though, period, because I have applied for like to be a director in other theaters and stuff like that, but it's just not, I haven't had the opportunity to do that because it usually has gone to the white man or to the,
And
the white
do you
lady.
feel that was more of a favoritism thing on their part or more of a, well, he's black and we don't know both these directors and he's black, so we're probably going to just go with the safer choice? Is that the feeling you've had on the situation?
Not always, but I feel like it's
it's a consideration in their mind.
It's part of that cycle, and we all know Broadway is very political and always cast who they know, but who they know is white.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, how are we gonna get the opportunity to show what we can do to get into that, to even get in the space,
I guess
that Tamir, you were saying earlier when you brought up Brian Stokes Mitchell. One of the things I think that with Broadway, when you go and you see a lot of different shows, you'll always notice that there is only one of us one or two of us at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always at least one in the cast and maybe an Asian person that's in the cast. And that to me, that is the problem. Because I think that, it said what it says to me when I see it is as though they're meeting their quota. Not to say that these people aren't, I'm not saying that they're not talented and they shouldn't be there because they, but I just don't, having gone to tons and tons of auditions and you see how things end up panning out, you start to wonder, over and over and over in every show, you see the one quote unquote token Black guy, maybe an Asian guy, maybe an Hispanic guy. And you start to ask yourself, especially when you see it across the board, this is not by accident.
Yeah.
It is not by accident. It is a conscious, it's a conscious effort that's made, when casting. And they probably say, well, we're looking for this or we're looking for that, and maybe you want to throw in. I don't know what they're saying in the room, but I wouldn't put it past them that, in their quiet little meetings that they're saying, okay, well, we probably need one Black guy and one Asian girl, and no, an Asian guy, not an Asian girl. Let's get an Asian.
Yeah.
And they probably have those conversations. And I just don't buy it because there's so many incredibly talented African Americans, and they're struggling. Only 1% works on Broadway, and for African Americans, that's probably maybe like 0.2%.
Right. Right.
I mean, that's the thing is like I can, and not me saying I have like the Rolodex of Broadway knowledge, but like I can hardly name Black performers actor wise who are like the upper echelon. Like it's like Brian Stokes Mitchell, Audra McDonald, Patina Miller, and now I'm like trying to like struggle to come up with some names.
That's terrible.
Which is sad, and I wish that it were different.
Right.
And strides should be taken to make it different. But one thing that I thought was super interesting going off of what Lauren said was feeling like white produced shows are trying to meet like a quota of Black people. I think one thing that's super interesting is back when Hamilton was first starting to get popular on Broadway, and they were first putting out the casting notices for like the tours and the other productions. And Lynn was like, I only want artists of color. And all the theater white people were like, we're like, this music is great. Like, we want to sing this music. I want to like be like Hamilton. I want to be Burr. I want to be this person. And they were just kind of like, we're not looking for you guys because you can go be in Phantom or you can go be in Wicked.
Right. I want to be Bobby and Company. I can't because nobody will cast me.
Exactly.
But they had to redo. He had to redo his casting notice.
Yep.
Because people freaked out over it. Yeah.
They not do that, but consequently, like Brandon was saying about Company, the current production of Company that's coming in, I don't think there's a person of color in it.
I think there's one, but he's playing Patti LuPone's her husband. I almost forget his name, but
okay.
Yeah, but I mean that's a piece where it's a really amazing piece, and I was looking online and watching all these different productions, and I only saw one production that had the lead guy was Black. I just don't know. I think that with a lot of things, they don't, and Brandon, you and I have had this conversation a lot of times. I get it that in certain shows, characters have to be cast a certain way. Like you would never cast Toll House as white because it doesn't work.
Right.
As a white, you can't have any reversals of roles there. if you did, let's say that you decided to reverse the roles and make, the black folks white and the white folks black, then it's a different show and you're trying to show something else. But, when you do a show where I've heard someone say one time that this girl, she was like, "Oh my God, I want to audition. I want to audition for Fiona and Shrek." And someone said, "You can't. She's green, and she was black." And then it's those kind of things that I'm like, she's green, and she's a fictional character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's the reason why you have makeup. Get your makeup person to work their makeup magic, and do whatever you can do.
Right.
The other thing is when Wicked have been running for a long time.
Yeah.
Right.
I was about to bring that up too.
And it wasn't until not Loretta Devine, it was, what was her name? As Mrs. Marvel.
Cheryl Lee
And
Ralph.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
that was the first, and then when they had one guy, the black guy that they cast is Evan Hansen, uh,
Yeah, Jordan Fisher.
yeah. So you
Mhm.
have a little
And
first, they become almost like little, not oddities, I don't know the right word for it, but it's like,
and
go ahead.
it upsets me that, and like I was gonna actually name the Glinda thing too, but the
Yeah.
fact that Phantom of the Opera is the longest running musical ever on Broadway, and I think it was what, like 3 years ago or something like that, like while I was still in school, that Norm Lewis became the first Black Phantom, and
Yep.
people went crazy over it, and I was just like, this is so not normalized to have an African American in the lead role of a musical where his race does not require him for
Right.
this part, that
Well,
we
but
now have to make a big deal that we have our first Black Phantom, and it's been running on Broadway for 20, 30 years.
Yep.
That's
but they
ridiculous to me.
had before that, but I don't think he was on Broadway. I believe that he was in a different company.
Oh,
But
right. There was a tour or a Vegas or something like
yeah,
that.
Okay.
But still, like,
but on the
Phantom's the
Broadway,
longest running show ever.
right.
And how many Phantoms have there been? And not one of them was Black, really?
yeah, yeah,
That goes for
yeah.
that entire show. Christine, all of them are fierce opera singers, Black opera singers that could sing like that.
Mhm.
Asian, even. Like, just any artist of color.
But here's the
But
problem with it, is that as soon as you do cast an Asian woman as Christine, it's a publicity stunt.
Well, but even see, this is the thing that even when so they waited 20 years and they cast Norm. Well, after 20 years, you have to think that ticket sales start slipping or whatever. And I'm not saying that this is the case, but it's the same thing that happens with Chicago. And I'm sure they were doing it you know, for box office reasons where they would bring in all of these big stars.
Mm-hmm.
But because stars bring in what? Butts in the seat,
Yeah.
right.
which you
That's what I
want.
mean. It's a publicity stunt.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it is. But it's and then it's like you're some kind of novelty.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You're the act, you're what's being brought in. I don't know, do you feel that you're being brought in because of your talent, or because you're going to bring in money, or because they think that you are the right person for the role? And that's what all of us want to think, that
Right.
we're the person for the role, and that they think that our talent needs to be seen. And I think that's one of the biggest things that um, casting directors ignore. They listen to other people, and cast them, but we have the same wants and desires too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Not really different at all.
Right. Right. It's hard to be popular when what you are isn't popular, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to be popular when being black on Broadway is almost niche unless we're doing Ragtime or Ain't Misbehaving or something where we're needed.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny because I was talking to someone the other day about just being in the room with a bunch of black men who are different types than what I am, and we're in for like something like Donkey. Well, this is my own personal experience. I was in some pretty like I've got pretty far in callbacks for the role of Donkey for a Shrek. And I look to my right, and it's this tall, skinny black guy, and I look to my left, and it's this short, a little thick black guy, and we're all fighting for this one role in this show.
Wow.
And it was so eye-opening to me because that meant to me that, okay, we're obviously different types, but the casting director just saw this,
Yeah.
you know? And it
Mhm.
wasn't until I had an experience in Florida doing Five Guys Named Mo, which is an all black cast of black men. And then I was like, okay, we are different types within, we don't have to play the same role. We can be completely different. One's the leading man, one's the funny guy, one's the supporting role, one's the villain. We don't all have to be categorized in this one whole. And I
Yeah.
think that's what Broadway has, like to what you were saying, Lawrence, that's what Broadway has become. It's just like you have the show full of white people, and then you got the one black role. And then most of the time it's the black role that comes on stage and is like riffing and
Mhm.
Which
feeling
is,
that one,
Yeah.
feeling the cycle of what Broadway
Mhm.
is supposed to be. And why can't it be something else? Because I can sing a hell of a music of the night too, honey. So it's it's
well,
interesting.
it's just, it's the whole thing, it's so multi-layered. And I think that more than anything, and then when I say we, I mean African Americans, we just want to be invited to a seat at, not only a seat at the table, but also to be given serious consideration,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
and not to just be, as you saying, looking at this, which is my skin color, you know, and we have to be open, very open-minded, you
Right.
know, in our thoughts. And we've discussed this before, like I was saying about when I saw Cinderella, the
Yeah.
one Whitney and Brandy, and then I'm seeing what's his name playing opposite Whoopi Goldberg, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Even for me, it was like, for a moment, it took, I was like, okay, all right. So they got together and they had this girl, yeah. And then after, but 10 to 15 minutes, I just went with it. You don't see color anymore. You just see the actors because they're so good at what they do.
Right.
And the whole cast was mixed, and it was great and it was beautiful. And it's almost to a point that it was so beautiful. It's the way that you wish the world could be.
Yeah. You are the fourth person to bring up Cinderella. That Cinderella.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, but that one is because that one stuck in my mind, and that was the first time in my memory that I can remember where I saw an integrated cast, and and I'm talking about cast that's a husband and wife
Right.
and daughter and a suitor that was of a different nationality, and it no longer became, it was no, when you're watching it, it was no longer about um seeing these people as, oh, well, he's Asian and she's black and he's a white guy and she's Chinese. But and that those are the stories that Hollywood and Broadway and all the writers out there, that they need to bring some of those stories in as well. You
Right.
know, all stories. You can write Irish plays. You can write Italian shows about it, the Italian experience, about the Black experience. But then you can write shows that, you know, where we're all in there, and it doesn't matter. Because if we don't start seeing it, we don't. The audience is not going to buy it,
Right.
and it's not creative. It's not, you know, once in a blue moon. That was how many years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the 90s.
Yeah, yeah,
97, I believe.
yeah. I mean, I think I had the most fun when I was in college at U of H and downtown. And, you know, I got to play a lot. Well, my director, he would do a lot of things, shows that nobody else would do. And he was a teacher in that he didn't want to do all the shows that you're going to do out there. He wanted to give you an experience. So we did things like, you know, Euripides, The Birds, I think, which was my first show, The Bacchae, um, Seascape, Edward Albee's Seascape, you
Mhm.
know, shows that you know, I've seen them around every now and then, but these are all really great shows that, you know, you don't get to play, you know, certain roles. And the beauty that he did was is that because, you know, U of H downtown was an integrated campus. You had African Americans, Hispanics, and white. And so he did a lot of colorblind casting, Dr. Little. But, you know, that's where, uh,
Dr. Love?
his name was Dr. Little.
Dr. Love.
Yep.